just drop that in the edge a minute, no bait on it. Now what I've done here, I've just got a bait box and I've just got a bit of toilet paper. Look at that, there's even the pink we got in with me. My name's Dickie Carr. On ground baits, we had a look through the different ranges. I tried to explain all my favourite ones, what I use them for, how I'd like to mix them up. And one of the favourite parts, I must admit, was when we see how they worked in the water, which was very interesting even to me. So I really did enjoy that part of the video. But now, I'm going to go inside and I'm going to show you the hook baits, the maggots, the squats and the different hook baits, and I'm going to explain to you how I keep them best and how I prepare them to take to the bank. Right, well I'm going to just have a quick run through the bait I've got here. I've practically got every sort of bait here that you could ever need to go fishing with, especially river fishing. I'm not talking about carp fishing because that's a little bit out of my league, that is, to be honest. But we'll start at the beginning. Just white maggots. That's probably one of the most popular baits lot. And the same with any maggots. When you get your maggots, often I've gone on the bank and people say, cool, your maggots are nice. But all I've actually done, the first thing I do when I get a maggot, I just put it on a maggot sieve, run it through, get rid of any bits of rubbish that are in the maggots, and you just simply add a little bit of maize to them and they come out perfect. Like all these are in lovely condition. So just a white maggot they do. You've got a red maggot and you've got a bronze maggot. Bronze has probably been the most popular maggot over the years, for the match angler especially. I must admit, I mean, I know it's all the dye that they use now is safe, but I still do use white maggots a lot. I'm not too keen on using bronze because you know, it does worry me with this cancer scare that they had, but that's, you know, I know they say it's safe. I still don't use bronze maggots very often. The next I've got along here is pinkies. Fluorescent pinkies, absolutely one of the most popular baits that are used in the winter. And as you can see, I've done exactly the same with my pinkies. I've just cleaned them and put a little bit of maize. You can see they're in lovely condition and the old maize keeps them well. Now I've got red pinkies, the same, and white pinkies. So there are my three pinkies. And as I go along here, back along here, I've got squats. Now what I do when I buy my squats, the ideal thing to do to keep them in really good condition is, first of all, as you can see, they're in sand. Now a lot of people I know actually sieve all the sand out of them, but I believe if you sieve the sand out of them, they intend to float. So I leave the sand in them, and what I do with the squats, I actually just get a piece of bread and I lay the bread on top of them. This bread I've only put on this morning to show you. I've got some red squats here again. I've done exactly the same, left the sand in, so they're in lovely condition, and just laid a piece of bread on top. And you'd be surprised, they do actually eat the bread. And if I stand this upside down, if you look in there, look, you can see the bread, you can see where it's all been eaten. And the squats, look, they're in lovely condition. Them squats are a week old and they're in perfect condition, but you can see where if I was going to use them, of course I'd have to sieve them out again and get rid of the lumps of bread, but I've left that especially to show you how they've eaten the bread. So, you know, they're the squats, and I definitely recommend to put a piece of bread on just to keep them. While I'm on squat, it's this here, if I turn this upside down, you see that is rhodamine squats, which you can't buy the rhodamine squats, I've actually dyed them myself, but I'll explain to you later how I do that. And then the other baits I've got, if I start right at the end, I've got lobworms and redworms. And you look in there, you can see there are my lobworms, and I'll find them at the bottom. Look, they're in lovely condition. Some of them lobworms are 3 weeks old, they've been in there. And the best way to keep your line, just put a piece of apple and old tea bags in there, and you can keep worms a couple of months. Really, they seem to feed on that, so you can keep them a couple of months. Put them away. Oh, my hands are getting a bit mucky now. Right now, I've got casters here. I don't believe in keeping, you buy casters and they are in bags. I'd like to take them out of bags and put them into a box. Now, I've got 2 boxes here, and these lids have got no holes in, so I don't have to use polythene on this particular lid, because it's got no, keeps the air out. But this I'll just take them out of the bag, and I actually pop the casters into a bowl and put the lid on, and I'll just open it and squeeze the air out, and you'll find you can keep them like that, and they stay in tip-top condition. With casters, normally I used to always do my own casters to make sure I got them fresh, but there are 2 or 3 shops about now where you can buy casters that are equally as good as you can do. I'm lucky, I get my bait from Robbo's and George Robinson at Prince Regent Street, and his casters are as good as I can do myself. He turns them every day, so I'm lucky there, so I buy them now instead of turning my own. I'll go into a little bit more about casters later on, because if I'm going to fish a canal, I like to leave the lid off them and let a few of them turn a little bit more, so I'll get ones that stand on their heads, which I'll go down to the bank of the lake later on today, I'll show you what I do with my casters to make them stand on their head, and how I'll get them for canals and that, and shallow lakes to get better results. But another thing I do, I mentioned the squats a minute ago about putting the bread on them. One thing I forgot to say was, like, what I like to do with the bread, get the bread, and if you really want them to munch it, if you get some milk and you tip some milk on top of the bread, just tip the bread on the milk and rub it into the bread and lay the bread on. You'd really be surprised how much they munch into the bread, because they just love to eat, especially when it's a bit moist. And that, coming back again, if I fetch these round, I was talking about the rhodamine squats. You can see that bread has gone rhodamine, and not everyone's took, but there's probably 15% of the squats in there that have gone and took to the rhodamine, if I hold them, you can see there. And how I actually dye squats is I actually put some bread, water, or some milk onto the bread. Then I just get a little bit of rhodamine dye and just put it onto the bread, and then just lay the bread there like that, and leave it like that for 24 hours or 12 hours overnight. And next day I take the bread out, sieve them all off, and you'll find you've got a few that have gone rhodamine. And that's the only really way you can dye squats, is actually to get them to feed it into them. So that's my array of bait. Now this bit of cardboard I've got here is what I use when I do shows, so forget the writing, because I know you won't be able to see the writing. And I'll just have a quick run through here on a few hooks that I like to use for certain baits, because I know people always say to me, what hook do you use for this, what hook do you use for that? Now, when I'm squat fishing, the hook I like to use, or pinky fishing, I like to use a camisand, and the number is B590. In 22s to 26s, and I find that for squat and pinky fishing, they're my favourite hooks. I know everybody's got different likings of hooks, but I like them hooks. I think they're very good. Next one along, I think the B511s. Now B511s, they're a silver hook, they're a nice wide gape they are, and these hooks are ideal for both for bread punch and for chop worm fishing. They're reasonably strong hook, they're a silver hook, and they're my favourite hooks for bread punch, chop worm fishing. Next one along, I can't pronounce it, so I'm just to say Kamakatsu or something to that effect. It's a green barbless hook. I've got these here, and I love to use these when I'm bloodworm fishing, or even when it's rock hard and I'm squat fishing, then I go to them ones, because I think they're such a fine wire hook and very effective hook. The next hook along is the maggot hook. This one's probably one of the most popular hooks used when people are fishing maggots of any description, you know, like not the pinkies, the bigger maggots, is the B520. So that's another chemisand hook, and that's got an absolute micro barb on it, and that's a very popular hook for maggot fishing. And next hook along is another chemisand. Anybody think I'm paid to advertise these, wouldn't they? But they are very good hook. They're one of my favourite hooks. Here's the B920. Now the B920 is a very heavy, strong hook. It's a forged hook, and when you're carp fishing, that's the time to use an hook like that. They are exceptionally strong, and you'll find they just don't straighten out. And the last hook is the Tumasini. That's a Series 2. That's ideal for caster, and I think that's very ideal hook for caster fishing. So that's basically a quick rundown on some of the hooks I use. Now what I'm going to do now, while I've got the bait out, I'm just going to pop outside, get my tackle box, and I'm just going to show you the correct way to actually hook the bait on the hook, and how to, sometimes when we fish double maggot, we intend to get quite a bit of line spin where the line kinks up, how to stop it and everything. So I'll just pop outside now and get my bait box and get some hooks and tie a few hooks and show you how to put the bait on. Right, let's pop the box down, and hopefully I've got some hooks already tied, and so I can just show you quickly how to put the bait on the hook. And I've got some hooks tied, it's whether I've got the right ones tied. God dear me, they're soaked they are from when I went fishing last time. That's not a very good thing. Damp hooks, God, that's the last, at least it's dry inside. Well, we'll take an hook off the board, there's one. Put the hook board out of the way. There's the hook. Put the pin back, that'll do. Right, now I've got the hook here. We start off single maggot, how to put a single maggot on. If I put my hand over there and get a single bronze maggot, right, if you hold the maggot, you can see you've got the maggot, you've got the thick end and the thin end. Get the thick end and just gently hook it through, just through the skin. See how it's wiggling? Look at that, that's wiggling like anything. And that's the correct way to hook a single maggot on. Now, as I was saying earlier on, when you fish double maggot, if I put another maggot on, if I put the maggot on the same, like that, right through the end again, and got the two maggots like that, you see how they're wiggling about? Now that acts as a sort of a windmill, and it spins round, so that's why your line kinks up. So to stop myself from my line kicking when I'm fishing double maggot, if I take one of the maggots off, put that back in the box, get another maggot, but instead of hooking it on the fat end, if I hook it on the thin end, stop it on the thin end, see how they hang together? So I've got one maggot done on the thick end and one on the thin end, and just by doing that, you'd be surprised how that stops you from getting line crink when you reel in and out all the time. Of course, you still have to reel in a little bit slower when you're using double maggot than single maggot, but that's the correct way to put double maggot on the hook. Pinky, just pop that in, right in the fat end again. Because I'd use a slightly smaller hook with a pinky, I mean that's a size 22 or 20, and see how it wiggles, just a single pinky. And if you're going to use double pinky, exactly the same as I've just done before. Put that back, and if you go to squat, I'll just put my hand out the way and get some squat. If you get squat, I've got 2 or 3 squat again, just in the fat end. So all maggots, 2 there, all maggots in the fat end. Right, if I get myself a caster, get my hook, pick the hook up, and how to put the caster on. I've got the thick end again. If I just pop the hook straight in the centre, push it in gently, push the hook round, push the complete hook into the caster, completely in, and just get, when it's completely in, just twist the caster round. And you say, now why has he twisted the caster round? I've twisted, both twisting the caster round like that, it stops the, when you shake it, it stops the caster from slipping down and the hook from slipping out. Because sometimes when you put a caster on, the line slips out. See how it's completely, hold it still, completely in the caster, completely buried. And that's absolutely bang on for caster fishing single caster. If I whip that out again, pull, now you can see you can pull it out. It's a job to pull out, that stops it from... Now if I'm going to fish double caster, I'll pop that back in the box and get another couple of casters. 3 down there. Now to put 2 casters on. Again, the thick end, right in the middle, round, but instead of going right the way down, fetch it out the side and push it onto the hook like that. So I've gone through the top of the head, down a little bit and out the side. And the next one, get the next caster, simply on the side and push it through. So I've got the 2 casters laid together like that. And that's how you put double caster on the hook. Right, now I'm going to get some hemp. Right, I've got a few grains of hemp. Drop them onto the piece of paper, because this is when you've got to sort the right hemp out. A bit that's not really overcooked. And if I hold it there gently, you can see, I'll just take a little bit of split. See where it's just split in the middle. Push it into the slit in the hemp, just leaving the point out. It's very hard to see, you can hold that there like that, you can just about see it. There it is. And as you say, when you strike, straight into their mouth. So what I do now, I'll put that away and I'll show you the worm, because that's something that a lot of people get wrong, how to put a worm on the hook. So I'll lay the hook down a minute, I'll leave that hemp there. Now I'll get the worm out, and so I've got a nice, while I haven't mentioned too much about worms today, but as you can see with this worm, you can see it's pure red. We get the worms, this is a red worm, and you get the ones with the circles on. I'm not sure what they're called, but they've got round rings on them. Now, they're yellow when you break them inside, and they definitely are not as effective a bait as the pure red ones. The pure red ones are definitely better than the ones with the circles on, whatever they're called. I know people say you can never prove whether something is more successful than others, but when I've been in Ireland and I've been on a lot of fish and I've been practicing, what I've actually done to prove that red worms are better than the ones with the rings on is I've actually put a red worm on, counted how long it took me to get a bite, and then the next cast I've put another sort of worm on and counted how long, and when you've done it for a little while you realise that the red worm is best. So, right, now how to put the worm on the hook. I've got the worm here, I'll get the hook. Right, now a lot of people think, I'll hook the worm in the middle. And I hook the worm in the middle. Now, you do catch fish like that, but the best way to hook a worm, if I unhook it, is to just hook the worm simply right in the top of the head. Now, like that. So it wiggles, look at that. You see why you're doing it. And believe it or not, although you think, if a fish gets old, they do take a lot and you don't miss so many bites like that. Now, if I was bream fishing, I'd put that like that, and if I put my hand over, I would either tip it with a pinky. Oh, that's lovely, eh? How can a fish resist that? Or, if there was a lot of little fish about, I've lost my line now, come here, I would, if I pull the pinky off, Put that back in the box, put my hand over here. I would tip it with a caster. That's the probably, put that back, that is probably the most commonly used bait for bream fishing, worm and caster. Just look like that. Hey, cool. How can a fish resist that? Now, one more last thing while we've got the worm on the hook. If I take the caster off, put that back in the box. Now I'm fishing now for perch on chop worm. So all you do, just cut the end off, just break the end off so that you've got the juice coming out of it and you've got the smell for the perch. That's all you do. Sometimes when I'm bream fishing and there's no bream about and I'm desperately in a match and I want to catch an eel or a perch, then I'll do that. But if I'm after bream and there are a few eels and that about, always make sure that you don't break the end off. But just like that is for chop worm fishing. Of course, when you chop worm fishing, you use anything from a lump like that. If I whip that off, I'll put my hand in the box and find some. I've got some real little weenie worms to a little weenie worm like that. Depends how hard it is. Sometimes you might just use a little worm like that. That's just hooked in like that, the same. And another time, if I whip that off, gently, put that back. Another time, when you chop worm fishing, you might just break a quarter of an inch, half an inch off, and just pop that on like that. And just use a little bit like that when you chop worm fishing. So there's a lot you can do with a worm, isn't there? Well, that's enough on the presentation part of it. Now later on in the programme, I'm actually going to fish with some bloodworm and joker. But in the meantime, I'm going to get the cameraman to put his wetsuit on, and I am actually going to present some hook baits and some loose feed, and with a bit of luck we should be able to see exactly how they perform as they fall through the water, and also how the hook bait actually does react on the bottom on the hook, which should be very interesting. I tell you what too, wouldn't it be cracking if when I was actually fishing a match, if I could actually see underwater and actually see what fish are in the swim, because the times you go fishing, you know your presentation's perfect, you know your bait's perfect, and the only problem is, are there any fish in your swim? Right, I've fed some white maggots, and I'm hoping the white maggots are laying on the bottom, and I'm going to put a fluorescent pinky and I'm going to lay that on the bottom in amongst them. I don't mind feeding white maggots because after a while you find they will bury themselves if they don't get eaten in the undergrowth, hopefully on the bottom of the lake bed. But the fluorescent pinky will stand out in amongst the white maggots and hopefully be, as soon as they come you'll see it standing out, so hopefully we'll get some bites off the fluorescent pinky. Right, I've just fired a few squats out, hopefully they'll be sinking, getting towards near the bottom, and as they're sinking I've just dropped me fluorescent pinky not far behind them, hoping that they roughly get to the bottom at the same time, and the fish come into them, because there's nothing more attractive than squats dropping through the water, followed by a nice fluorescent pinky. Normally the fish come into the bait dropping. You don't want a great deal dropping, just little and often. Just keep the bait dropping through slowly. And then a nice fluorescent pinky should do the trick. Well, as you can see, I've got squats laying on the bottom. The beauty of having squats laying on the bottom is they're different to pinkies and maggots, whereas a pinky and a maggot will bury yourself in the undergrowth. But the squats, they lay on the top and they die after a while and they never bury themselves. That's why squats are so good for bream and roach. Lovely to have a few of them laying on the bottom. Good attractor. Right, I found a nice little gravel bottom, just a little bit of gravel, so I'm going to put a nice bed of hemp on there. Nice bed of hemp, and hemp does hold the old roach very well. So I've got a nice bed of hemp right on the gravel. Let's hope I'm firing it as accurate. I think I am. Then I'm going to follow it through with some squats. I'm not going to feed much more hemp, just very odd, but I'm going to get the squats falling through all the time. The squats, if you notice, will always fall a lot slower than him, and they really do attract fish. And then in amongst them, I will probably start off with fluorescent pink and then later on swap over to a squat on the hook. But I'm sure that little gravel bottom that I found is going to hold a lot of fish. And that end in there is going to be a real basic for holding the fish. Right, the pinkies just should be coming down following the 2 pouchfuls of squats that I put on. I'm going to let it as it hits the bottom. The float's took its settings. I'm opening out, I'm going to drag the pinky along and try and tempt the fish into take. Just drag it along the bottom, keep it moving. Fish tend to like the bait moving, so I'm just going to edge it along gently along the bottom. You just nudge it along and all of a sudden, hopefully, fish is going to take it. It should be right in amongst all them squats now. Just keep nudging it along. And hopefully we're going to get a take. Just gently pull it along. Sometimes just nudging it along the bottom helps when the fish are about there. Just look at that one bait that's moving and grab it. Really nice to keep the bait moving, working all the time. Squats falling through your swim all the time, little and often. Right, Empen caster. Now we're after some decent fish with Empen caster. I've got a nice bed of Empen caster on the bottom, and I've just laid my caster down on the bottom in amongst them. It's just laying, hopefully I'm laying right in amongst all the 3 offerings. And I've got a nice bed of Empen casters there now, which is absolutely brilliant. Just lay it there and just wait for it to slide under. The caster should be laying on the bottom, it's just standing slightly on his head where the one I've got on the hook is a floater. Just keep topping it up with little bits of Emp and the odd caster, just to keep them interested. I've just cut a ball of joker in. It should be followed by a few loose offerings that were in the cup as it's falling down and that broke off while it was falling down. As the first ones go down, I'm going to cut another one in now, which won't take too long to come down. As it comes down here, it should be hitting the bottom round about now, and the same, a few loose offerings coming off it. And the jokers now will start to go up and down in the water. The ball's dissolving, I was saying probably 10 to 15 seconds, and it won't be long now before the fish move in and notice them jokers going up and down in the water. Right, I'm going to put 3 balls now in damp lean because I'm fishing slightly deeper water and they will go down a lot quicker and then dissolve, probably in about 30 seconds or more. I'll put 3 of these in. First one I'll put in, let's get ready to cut the other one in. That should be going down to the bottom very shortly now, and that should start to break up slowly and surely. I will put another one in now, which shouldn't take too long to get down to the bottom because I've got it nice and heavy. I've got 3 balls, I've cupped in, hopefully they're all going to be in the same area, and they will take about 30 seconds to a minute to break up. Right, I've just dropped my bloodworm in it and I hope that should just be laying on the bottom, just touching. I'm just now going to cut a couple of very small mounts right on top of my float of joker and the odd bloodworm because I've been told there's a few little skimmers around. And so instead of having me bait just off the bottom, I'm going to lay it on the bottom and just drop the odd bloodworm in with the joker in my little cup. And I know everything should be all in a nice little very small area. So just hope that the fish move in. Right, I've put me balls of joker in about a minute ago or so ago, and I'm hoping the balls should have been broke up and the joker should be spread out and really wiggling about. And now I'm going to put my hook bait in right on top of it, in amongst it, and the bloodworm, if there's any bigger fish on top of all them lively little jokers, should really make a difference. Normally after a minute or so they wiggle and they're up and down, they really are attractive to fish. Right, I'm just going to cut in now with my small cup a few bloodworms over the joker just as an attractor. Just 2 or 3 at a time, that's all, just to keep the fish attractive. And they should fall with the cup, you can be so accurate because everything goes in exactly the same place. Bang on. Right, we'll just loose feed a few bronze maggots. And they should sink all nice and slow. I've only got a small catty, so I've grouped them all together nice. And they should lay on the bottom on all the undergrowth, and they probably bury into the undergrowth on the bottom in about 5 or 10 minutes. So Don't worry about feeding too many because they normally bury themselves after a while. Right, we've had a lovely look underwater. It's been really interesting. Now it's time for Bloodworm and Joker. Right, now let's go fishing. Right, now we come to the bloodworm bit. This is a bit that I must admit I do enjoy the bloodworm fishing. So first of all I'm going to start putting all my bits and pieces together. As you can see, I'm in a right mess here. I've got gear absolutely through everywhere. I've got my seat nice and comfortable. I've got my legs and everything, so I'm comfortable there. And I've got everything all laid out around me in a big mess at the moment. So I'm just going to tidy myself up and sort out where everything is. I'll fetch this over here, lay that down there. The other little bits and pieces here. Get me box undone and take me little bits and pieces out that I'm going to need. I've got a nice lot of floats here. I'll take a few out to start with because I've got to be perfectly honest, I've not fished this lake before. And quite honestly, I don't know the depth yet, so until I actually plumb the depth and find out later on, I won't know what size float to use. So I'll take two or three floats out of my box of different sizes, get them all out. I should think I've got a nice range there that'll do. Just pull my button out for other bits and pieces. Lay them in my box ready. Move that there. I've got bits of metal everywhere to make everything nice and easy at hand. Leave that there for the minute out of the way. Just see if I've left anything in here. That's a bit, just the ground button. No, I think everything I need I've already got out, so I'll shut that up just in case it rains later, and we'll just sort ourselves out. I've got all my bits and pieces that I'm going to need here. I'm going to just put this on here and just sort of get myself tidy, ready to start fishing, and all the little bits and pieces that I'm going to need, get everything about so that I ain't got to go back in the box. I've got my hook board there with my spare hooks all tied, which I'll lay there out of the way. My catapult, I'll lay that there for the time being. My pole pot can go there. There's some rigs that I'm going to use when I know the depth. I'll leave them out of the way. Now, in here, little box, I've got some new stuff out, which I've used once and I think is absolutely brilliant. Some fluorescent grease, which is ideal. My disgorger, a marker to mark me depth, and a couple of pair of scissors. Some slip, never ending, is it? And that'll do for the time being. Lay that back, put the lid on just in case it does rain. Right, put that there. Now, on the blood and joker, that's handy. That can come round there like that. I've got my pole roller here. I'll just put this together. I'll put it together quick. As you can see, it's one of these square ones with two bank sticks on. I must admit, I do prefer these ones. We've got the V ones, you have, but I find with the V ones with one bank stick, especially today wouldn't be too bad, but when you get on hard banks, you intend to stick it in the V ones, and sometimes when you push the pole on it, it twists round and that. But so I've gone off the V ones and gone on to these sort. They do sell these ones similar to this. I actually bought this one in Italy when I went over there a few years back, and I've had this one probably 4 or 5 years, and you can see it's a bit worse for wear now, but it still works well. But I'll lay that down out of the way. So the next thing I'll do is, I won't mix my ground bait up yet. I've got everything here ready to mix it up. Atomizers, sieves, bloodworm thing, but I know a couple of bowls for bloodworm. what I've got, grilled hemp, nature. I've got just about everything here. But what I'll do first of all, I'll show you the bait, and I'll show you the best way to lay it out and keep it, and the different ways to mix it up. So first of all, I'll just put this out of the way. I'll grab some worm. Now what I like to do when I'm worm fishing, what I'll do, I'll just fill this up first with a drop of water. Without falling in, I hope. What I will do, I'll do everything how I normally do it. I've got a little bit of that on my hands, just a little bit of our super drawer, and I always like just a little weeny bit in the water just to flavour it. Back on. That's all done now, leave that there. Right, if I come over here, now what I've done here, I've put all my bloodworm that I've got here. I've got 4 different packs. I'll move that out of the way. Move that out of the way. I'll go through them quick for you. That one there's raw. Now that's some real big bloodworm in there. Really nice big stuff in there. Let's wrap that up again. This one here, that's raw again, but that's a much smaller bloodworm. Sometimes the fish only want a bloodworm, a small one and not a big one. So that's another sort there. And what I've done here, I've just got some that I've put in peat. This stuff, I put that in black peat, which you can see it's easier to sort out, and there's an assortment of small ones and large ones in there in black peat, and that's kept really well. That's nice like that, especially when you just want to pick the big ones out. A lot of people do it like that, but I'll show you my favourite way to sort my hook bait out. And another one here, this is just in a different colour peat, which roughly the same. It's a lot drier. It's when the bloodworm in here is a lot older, so I'll put it in a lot drier peat. It's probably coming on for nearly 2 weeks old, that is, so you can keep it. All you have to do is, if you want to keep bloodworm for a week and you keep it, it's best to keep it in paper like this and just take it out and shake it like that all the time. And another little trick that I do, I don't know if I've got a polythene bag with me, I don't think I have, but I actually put it inside a polythene bag, and then just inside the polythene bag, if you just squirt a little bit of the atomizer just to wet the bag, you find it keeps it a lot better. But so that's another way to keep it. But what I like to do when I'm actually going to fish, now what did I do with them, is this here. I've got this here. You can either use, this is a bit of toilet paper, which most anglers carry with them just in case they, what I like to do is just lay some, either this or just lay it nice and neatly in the bottom of your box, like that. And if you get the spray and you just spray it, just damp it. See how it's just damping? Like that. And then if you get your raw bloodworm, you can just get a little bit and you can sprinkle it out. You find it keeps in very good condition like that. It's just damp enough. But normally what I like to do the night before, when I'm on a match and I want some big bloodworms, I'll sit in my shed and I sort out the real big ones and lay them in on this stuff, and you find they keep in lovely condition because it's just damp enough. Just like that. Just sort out the bigger ones and you see you can get your hands on them, and I'll just put that on my tray or in my tray like that. One thing I must mention too, I mean just lately, everywhere I've been, it's been so bloody windy that you're liable to get things blew off off your bait tray into the water. So I have actually been putting a little stone or something in the edge of the tray like that, just to make sure it don't blow away. That's how windy it's been just lately. But I lay that there, and now we've got the old joker. Now what have I done with that? Here it is. Now with the joker, there's a few different ways to put the joker in, but what I'll do, I'll just mix it up in a few different ways quick. Now, if I get a bit of joker, won't use too much, put a little bit in the tray like that. I'll towel here, my hands are white, and what have I done with it? In here. This sensor's this or grey lean, which I actually sell grey lean myself, and here I am advertising sensor stuff. So it's just that it's easier in one of these things. If you just sprinkle a little bit in like that, just a very little bit. There we are. And tighten up so it's a finer spray. That's it. And just spray only a little bit like that, so I was hardly anything on it, and mix that in. Now if I leave that a few minutes, you'll find that you will be able to actually, if you want to, squeeze it in little balls. I know you're not going to be able to see this go in the water from here, but you can just throw it in like that, and that's a very nice way to feed. That's when you're on shallow water and you're after roach on canals and the fish don't want ground bait. There's that way. Let's see if I can find I'll put that in there for the time being, in that spare bait box there. Another way that a lot of people like to do with their joker, and two, it does help like this when your jokers, if you get your joker and you'll find it's a little bit old. I mean, this is not in nice condition, reasonably nice condition, but if it's a little bit stuck together and it's not exactly in the best of conditions, you can always get a piece and actually put it in your box like that. Now to make it really come to life, if you can see that now, that's not exactly what you call that lively, but what a lot of people do, I've got a sieve here somewhere. Now this is damp leaf. It's a sort of it's got a leaf in it as well, damp leaf. Now if I put a little piece of that, not too much, in the sieve, just rub it through. These old sieves, you just don't realise how important they are when you're actually fishing, the amount of work you do with them. As I say, I've rubbed the leaf through, and you just mix it all in, and it parts all the joker. It makes the joker all on where it was stuck together, it loosens it, and everyone's sort of single on his own now. Of course, it's a lot more lively, and it lasts a lot longer, because that's what kills it when it gets stuck together. That's why they use these damp leaves and that. And a lot of people, if they buy their joker in a shop, when they actually get it home, they do actually put a little bit of lean with it, just a small amount. You know, so see, all I put with it was sort of that much, just enough to part it, to make it all single, and that's lovely. Now look at the life in that, the difference in that than when I was actually holding it in my hand before I put the lean with it. Absolutely brilliant now, and it doesn't hurt. You can use that like that, as I've just shown, throwing it in, or you can actually put it in your ground bait, which I'm going to put it in ground bait later on this. Absolutely brilliant. Right, let's mix up some ground bait. Right, we've got Nature, which I'm going to use, my favourite for bloodworm fishing. A little bit of grilled hemp, a bit of the tissue, well, toilet paper that I was using to put the worm in, a bit of superlate, which I'll put out the way, and the stuff I've put on my hand. Right, I'm going to be a little bit mean with this. I'm not going to mix a load of ground bait up. Times are hard, so I'm going to use half of it. If I tip that in there like that, about half of it. So, that back. Let's leave that there a minute, just get myself some water. Should be enough there. Right, a little bit at a time. You'll find when you mix the ground bait, it's always best to add the water to the ground bait, a little piece at a time. I'll do this as quick as I can so I don't waste too much time mixing ground bait. It's a nice sound. I'm giving it a real good old mix round. I haven't put any grilled hemp in yet. I'll show you how I like to put my grilled hemp in. That's getting there. It don't take a minute. These big old bowls are so much easier to mix with than the little ones. You can be a lot more. That's it, like that. That's nearly there. You might be saying to yourself, why has he got two bowls? Well, I'll show you. Lay that one there a minute. Get the other bowl. Make sure there's no water in it. I'll just wipe it round quick because I don't want it damp inside. Right. Now, my sieve. Let's put everything so you can see what I'm doing. That can go out of the way. Put that one there. Now, get this, rub it through. Oops, I just move it a bit, you can't see what I'm doing. Normally, if I was at home, I'd do it like this, but of course you wouldn't be able to see what I'm doing, so I'll do it like this. Rub it all through. Nearly there. Don't take too long. And sometimes, if I was fishing a real important match, and I'll do it at home the night before, I sometimes cooks the hemp and actually mix my ground bait up with the hemp water. Put that in so I don't lose it. That's what a lot of the French and the Belgian and the Dutch, they like to mix their ground bait up with hemp water. And I must admit, I do that a lot myself. Just bang that lot in. Just do that. Give that a sieve. A lot of that will shake through. There's a lot of hemp based in this. Very hemp based ground bait, this nature. If you can't hear me very well at times, there's so much traffic going past. There's a road probably only about 60 or 70 yards away, and there seems to be quite a few lorries about today. Right, now I've done that. Now the grilled hemp. What I like to do with the grilled hemp is to put the grilled hemp in, because it's a little bit damp, the grilled hemp. I'll put probably only about a quarter of a bag in. So if I shake it like that, and then just rub the rest of it through. I like to rub everything through, because I like to get a bits of the shell actually in the ground bait, because that makes it, puts some sort of, that's it, rub that, puts the sort of, the shell makes little air pockets in the ground bait, right there. And then mix it all in. That's it. Now I've got the grilled hemp in there, and you smell that. I could eat that myself. And how you can tell the ground bait's mixed right, you should be able to squeeze it into a ball like that, and then just go like that. Look at that, that's lovely. That's dead right for mixing, that is. Just squeeze it and rub it like that. Now, as you see earlier on, I had my joker in the leam, like that. But what I'm going to do, I'm not going to put the joker in the ground bait now, because with most ground baits, if you put the joker in too early into the ground bait, it intends to kill it a little bit, so I won't put that in. I'll leave that like that. There goes another lorry. I'll leave that like that, and I'll put that there till I actually start fishing, because before I start fishing, there's a lot of odds and sods I want to do, just show you other little tricks that I do before we actually start fishing. So put that back in there, leave that in there, pop that in there. I can forget about that now till I start fishing. I'm all ready with my ground bait. I've got my worm ready for the hook bait there. So all my bait preparation is done now. Now all I've got to do is set myself up and get everything right. So I'll wipe my hands and I'll start to sort out a few other bits and pieces. Right. Just put that there. Let me sort out my plummet, make it myself, anything to save a few pence me. It's only about 18 inches deep, dab of white paint where the tip of the float is. I'm just gonna dip the end. If I jump up off my seat, squeeze some balls, nice big ones. I know exactly where to put it now. Just whack it down and that'll straighten it out. I know you can't see it, but just gonna put a couple of balls in. Put that in between my legs, just be touching the bottom. I'll try and put it so you can see what I'm doing. Now, I would say that's bang on. So let's just give them a nice squeeze. I'm gonna hold that there like that. Cool, I am organised. Where's my towel? What I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna squeeze that very lightly and make it cloud, so it makes a nice cloud as it goes in and attracts the fish. Like that. If you notice, I've put all my balls a little bit short of the float. There we are. The better ones are just starting to move in. A nice little roach here, look at that. There we are. Look at that, beautiful little fish. There we are. That's a roach, look at that. I said the bigger fish were just starting to move in. Look at that, lovely. There we are, look at that. What a nice little roach. And I honestly believe, look at that, the rain's coming down now. I honestly believe that the longer I stay here, there it is, I thought I was going to have to use the disgorger. The longer I stay here, the bigger the fish that I'm going to catch. Look at that go. Oh, what a lovely roach. What a lovely roach, eh? There we are, look at that. Come here. Come here. Oops-a-daisy. That's in lovely condition. That is a beautiful fish. And what we've been fishing, no more than 20 minutes. And look at that. What a lovely specimen of a fish. 6 ounces, beautiful condition. Looks like it's never been caught before. Absolute lovely fish. Beautiful, well pleased. I knew I'd catch some better fish. If I pop that in the net, I'll put that out of the way. Absolutely brilliant. Let's have another go. Another nice roach. Just amazing, these roach. As I said, I've not been fishing more than 25 minutes, and already I've had a few roach up to about 2 ounces, and now the last 2 chucks I've had 2 roach that must go 6 ounces apiece. This looks a nice fish. Look at that. I'm playing to the cameras a little bit, I've got to be perfectly honest with you. I'm enjoying myself watching the old elastic come out. As long as I don't go and lose it being flash. There we come. Come out. Oh, look at that. It's not quite as big as the other one, but it's a lovely fish. Not quite as big. Look at that. Out you come, into the big net. Beautiful. What a lovely little fish. Let's lay that safely out of the way. Not quite as big as the other one, about 4 ounces, but that's in 2 chucks. There we are. Let's lay that net there. What a lovely fish. Look at that. Again, it looks like it's never been caught. Absolutely brilliant condition. Look at that. I could tell you, I mean, the way it fought, to be honest, I thought it was a little bit bigger. Let's just take the hook out. Nice and gentle. You know, these barbary hooks, they come out, they don't damage the fish at all. Look at that. What a lovely little fish. Good 4 ounces. Perfect condition. Look at that. Absolute perfect condition. Eh? And that was on 3 bloodworm, that was. I wouldn't mind betting if I went out there again, I'd get another one straight away. Absolutely lovely. I'll put that in the net gently. Let's put that in. And a lovely bit of sport. Lay the net out of the way. Now we've put another couple of bloodworm on and see if we can get another one. Oh, look at that. Blooming rain. Now what do? Do I pack up or catch some more fish? Well, to be honest, I think I'll better pack up because, as you can see, I've got gear laying absolutely everywhere, and it is going to take me a good half hour, 40 minutes to pack up. So I'm going to pack up. Let's have a quick look what I've caught. I mean, we've been fishing probably half an hour, and have a quick look. I know I've caught quite a few roach, about 2 ounces, and I've caught a few a little bit bigger, about 1 ounce, and there's a few around the ounce, and I've got 2 decent ones. So let's have a look what we've caught. Look at the state of my net. It's about time I bought myself a new net. What we got in half an hour? We've got a couple of pound of fish there. Let's get where I can see them. I don't want to damage the poor little things, because they are lovely condition fish. Lay me net out of the way, and let's have a quick look. Now look. Now what have we got? A nice few fish in there, a few gudgeon, a few roach. I'll put them back down. Just take the 2 nicest ones out, them 2 nice fish, and show them to you. One, where's the other one? Look at that. What a lovely pair of fish. Eh? What lovely conditions. Look at them. Put them back nice and carefully. They've done me really enjoyed myself. In that little half hour, 40 minutes, I've got a couple of pound of fish easy. Let's put them back nice and careful. They've been really good to me today, they have. Honestly, that does really show the power of bloodworm fishing when you consider it's January and the weather is like this, and we've had a lovely day's sport. Really enjoyed it. Right, we've talked about all the different ground baits. We've done all the different